Hello everybody, today I'm bringing you this layout with that photo of the church on it, and I'm showing you some papers there from the Simple Stories Hello Fall collection. Everything on this layout is pretty much from that Hello Fall collection except for one thing, and I'll note where that is. I was just showing you that border paper. It's the 2x12, 4x12, 6x12 element sheet from the collection. And it says give thanks on it, and it has a double meaning. First of all, this is a church, so obviously give thanks is appropriate. But I've been meaning to take this photo for years, and I finally was able to do that. So that's kind of the double meaning there. And I'll tell you where it is in a little bit. That background paper there is from, the wood paper is called Piles of Smiles from the collection. And right now I think I want some sort of colorful border there, but I'm not quite sure how big I want that strip to be. So I'm just doing a little bit of measuring. I know that I want a lot of the wood grain paper to show, and I know that that border strip needs to be, or that plaid strip needs to be smaller than the border strip. So that's what I'm kind of looking at. I also know that I probably need some sort of journaling element on there, and I'm not sure how I'm going to use that, what I'm going to do. If I'm going to put it next to it, or how I'm going to do that. And how big I cut that strip might depend on what element I find, especially if it's a die cut. So that's why I'm kind of looking at things before I make the decision on how big to cut that border strip. As I'm going through to look at elements for journaling and embellishing here, I am putting aside pieces as I run into them that I think might actually work. And so I'm just cutting off the branding strip on that. The plaid paper is the sweater weather paper from the collection. So I know that I want that give thanks to go towards the bottom. So I'm going to glue that down. Now that's going to cause me a little bit of a problem because I forgot to put the ATG tape more towards the middle and the bottom, and I put some towards the top, so I'll have to peel that back. But it's fairly forgiving in most instances. What I'm doing here is I decided that I didn't want just a plain strip of the plaid paper, that I wanted some sort of border on it. So I'm running over to my border punches, which are kept in just a little Sterilite container. And that is my EK Success border punch. It's a postage stamp edge punch. I can't talk tonight. I don't know what the problem is. At least I'm doing the voiceover at night. So I'm just going to line up that punch so we can figure out again what that's going to look like, how big it's going to be. I love these punches, the EK Success ones, because they fold flat, unlike the or at least the old style Fiskars that I still use as well. Those don't fold flat, and this is so nice because they just keep in your drawers better when they're flat. It's also a very sturdy feeling punch. That's the other thing I really like about it. All right, so I have that punched out now, and there I'm locking it so it lays flat. And again, I'm putting that kind of picture down to try to decide, okay, how big am I going to cut this? And I'm going to cut it a little bit bigger than I think I need. And here's where I discover, oh, I probably should not have put that all the way down. And if I cut it a little bit bigger than I need, I can move it around and tuck it in as I wish to do. And I narrowed that strip up, but I didn't really like it so narrow. And then as I'm looking at this, I decide, you know what? I think I want something else to blend the join between the Give Thanks border and the plaid strip. So I'm going to my washi tape, which I keep in old cigar boxes. It makes it really simple to kind of contain them, and I do it, you know, by colors. I think I have 2 of these cigar boxes full of washi tape, so I don't ever need to buy another piece of washi tape ever again. And I pulled that Bella Boulevard tape. It's just a polka dot. It's a pretty old tape. Well, pretty old. It's probably, oh, well, actually it is probably pretty old. It's probably about 3 years old now that I think about it. And I'm just fiddling with this a little bit. I want the plaid to fall below the church there, and I don't want it to be in line with the black border there. I did leave a little bit of a white border on this photo. I processed it through Instagram, so it put a black frame on it. And then I left a little bit of a white border around it. For some reason, it just kind of was calling me to do that. And there's the washi tape going down. Super simple if you just wrap it around the edge there. I like this one, it's a little bit thicker. All right, so now I'm looking at that again, and I'm going to push that up a little bit because it needs to have a little bit more presence, not be quite so low there. I'm playing with die cuts and chipboard pieces from the pack there. That is a chipboard flower, and it's from the chipboard stickers from the collection. Now what I'm doing is I had pulled a little circle that said give thanks as well, that was in navy, and I can't find it. And I'm getting frustrated because I was thinking about putting that in the upper left hand corner. So as I'm looking for that, I find this journaling spot, and I don't have a ton to say about this church, but I want to say something. So this church is located very close to a scrapbooking retreat house that I go to twice a year. It's in Springdale, Wisconsin. If any of you know the area, it's very close to Mount Horeb, and it's a Norwegian Lutheran church built in the 1800s, I believe, if I remember correctly. I think there's a date over the door of the fence or something, but I don't remember what that time was. But it's a very old church. It's just outside of the city, and it's just a cute little country church. I've been meaning to photograph it for, I don't know, probably 4 years, and I never get around to it, or I think of it on a Sunday morning when the parking lot is full of cars and obscuring the church. So finally, when I drove by, it was very quiet, so I decided to photograph it. All right. I decided that I wanted that photo to have a little bit more presence and some color behind it, so I matted it on the Warm and Cozy paper, which has kind of a rust colored floral behind it. And these are all, this is a definite fall theme to it. Part of the reason that is because this was a fall day. So I wanted, in my mind, that helps me associate with the day and go back to the memories of the day. So that's why I'm doing that. And I decided to put the little journaling card to the right there of the photo. I think it really helps balance off the big floral in the give thanks border strip there. And now because I couldn't find the navy circle, and I do find it, I definitely found it when I was cleaning up, if not before. I found another circle that said Happy Days, and I like that. And then I found this leaf die cut there from the Bits and Pieces pack. That's what the die cuts are called. And I decided I really liked how that brought the plaid, all the color of the plaid, up to the top of the layout as well. And I'm looking at some of the brads with this collection. The self-adhesive brads is what they're called. And I decided that there was one that I kind of liked there, that I could use that. There's the give thanks. I did find it. Except once I found it, I actually liked the orange of the Happy Days circle better. So after all the searching I did, which you didn't see very much of, but I did search, I decided just not to worry about it. All right, so now I have that journaling spot and the floral balancing off the floral of the Give Thanks border strip, and then I also have that the two die cuts up on the top, which is balancing out the bottom of the layout a bit, getting the color from the bottom up into the top of the layout, and it forms a triangle. If I'm considering the flowers that are printed on the Give Thanks border strip as to be sort of an embellishment cluster, I'm going to add some enamel dots into it so it will give it a little bit more of a 3D presence to it. And then there's the cluster right there that I'm working with now, and one at the top, so that forms a nice triangle. And when you do a triangle, you just have to make sure that your photo is in the intersection of that triangle or on one of the sides of the triangle. It helps draw people's eye into your photo. And there's one of the brads I talked about using. That one has a little acorn on it. I picked that one because it brings some of the yellow from the two flowers in the bottom up to the top. And there are my enamel dots. And in this case, what I'm doing is I'm bringing one of the colors that I think is lacking into each of the clusters. So I'll use blue in the top left. I'm going to use yellow in this middle cluster. And then I'll use a rusty red. Oh, actually, that's not true. In the floral cluster, what I do is I highlight some of the dots in that cluster, and I'll show you that in just a minute. And so I end up using 3 different colors of enamel dots. I was trying to figure out how to get more dots there. And I'm just playing with that. I forgot that I did this. I didn't get those dots on there right away. I decided to do that a little bit later. I want some dimension in that cluster, since I'm kind of counting it as a cluster, an embellishment cluster. So now here's where I come up with the idea of using the dots in those clusters and just replacing one of them with a colored enamel dot. And again, that gives dimension into that area there. So it's not quite as flat. I think it would have looked a little bit funny if I hadn't done that, because then I would have only had 2 clusters, and I don't know, the third cluster there leads your eye back to the title as well, just because it starts the title, so I thought that was important. And now this layout was one of those where I had to keep searching for things. I couldn't find my brown American Crafts precision pen. It took me a little bit to do that. So I'm going through all of my pens to see if I can find it. And I really want the brown because there's a black frame, but that's the only black on there. So I really wanted to journal in brown. So I did eventually find it in my drawer. It was hiding underneath a couple of other pens. I have so many pens in different colors, and I really use black, brown, and gray. So I think I used to journal more when I first started scrapbooking in different colors that matched the layout. I will every so often, but now it is pretty much black, brown, and gray, as I said. I'm just finishing up the layout with this journaling. There will be a still shot and a couple of detail shots at the end. Hope you are all well, and I will be back with another video again soon. Bye!